Hello. Um, I knew I said I was gonna talk about teams that aren't just Celtic or, a top five uh, club from Europe, but technically they are no longer a top five club for now. So today we're talking about Deutschland. More specifically, FC Köln. So now we're looking at images of the city. Oh yeah, ominous. I'm now looking at images of the city. I'm having too much fun with this lamp. I'm looking at images of the city. I will talk to you about my connection to FC Köln. Now my connection with Köln actually starts before I was born. Legitimately, it's more of a connection to the city than the club, which by definition means it's a connection to the club because that's why we're here. So during the Cold War, my grandma lived in Köln, and that's it. That is why I support Köln. Now we're going to transition into the section of the video where I talk about the history of me watching Köln. So with Clone, so the thing with Clone, other than the familial tie, I started watching like soccer heavily around the when the pandemic started. I'd already been like a fan of Celtic by association and by my pops, but and always because of Celtic, I've always liked in Germany St. Pauli, which I have a jacket of. But the thing is with Clone, I felt a real connection to it for a really dorky reason. In the pandemic, I started to play this video game called FIFA, and I did like the random team picker thing, and it landed on one FC Köln, which was really interesting. And I played FIFA 16, so this is when Köln was good, and that was the season that they finished fifth and got into the Europa League. And I watched those games. I rewatched them, and I from FIFA 16 during the I watched the highlights and I watched some of the full fast replays during the pandemic, especially while I had COVID. I watched Clone, and it was like, whoa, Anthony Modesta is the best striker in the world, sort of stuff, and Johannes Hector is the best fullback, and that sort of thing. And it was just like Marcel Risa is the greatest winger to ever play the game, and I had no idea that players like Johannes Hector had left, but they've already come back and such, and I had no idea that like that Modesta had gone to Africa to play again. He went back to France, loans all over the place. He was kind of a journeyman for three clubs. He just went bounce back between two of them. Never really came back to Cologne and never really did anything exceptional in the Europe ways. And it was just like really naive there. That I started to use Cologne in FIFA 16 more and more, and I pretty much learned how the game was played through FIFA 16, and I started watching it more, which got me more in love with Celtic, where I have all those videos that I show, and got me more in love with West Ham, which I already had a respect for because Iron Maiden was and is my favorite band. And Steve Harris is an Iron Maiden fan, and my favorite bass player Steve Harris is an Iron Maiden fan. Steve Harris is a West Ham fan, and Iron Maiden had my favorite bass player, who is Steve Harris, and I was just like, well, I guess I'm a West Ham fan. So with Clone, I would play those games and be like, wow, I need to put the game in German. Is there any way I can? And there never was. It was only French or Spanish. But I'd be able to like read the fake signs, and I'd be like, what does that mean? So, well, I was just like, I need to be immersed into this, and I really learned about all the stuff that was cool about like German football and why I have this visceral hatred for Borussia Mönchengladbach and such. Außerdem ist Klon der Grund, warum ich Deutsch lerne. So with all this beautiful stuff, you gotta realize, oh man, it all seems so happy for him, he's getting really excited and happy during the pandemic when he can't go outside and see any of his friends or even go to school. And then I watched Cologne get relegated. I was totally shocked, given that we did really good against our rivals that season, scoring 6 goals against them. Maybe I was just a tad, tiny, whiny bit. I was called over by Fanvale Wall because of the FIFA 16 team. That was actually good. But in memory of Cologne, and given that they have a high chance of going back up to the top flight of the Bundesliga, I'd like to go from every season that I watched Cologne, starting with the 2019 to 2020 season, and see how they did. So, the 2019/20 season, first I started watching, and I started watching halfway through, so I already knew they were nowhere near getting Europe before I even knew what that meant, and I knew that they were nowhere near getting relegated either. So, when I think I came in, I'm pretty sure they were rocking around 9 and 8th. I just really didn't want them to get relegated, because I just learned what that meant. I'm like, oh no, I can't have them get relegated. Think of it as just like, if they get relegated, they'll cease to be a team. Which is what it is for some, if you go far down enough. But I think the thing that hurt me the most is that Mönchengladbach got Champions League football that year. And we were literally 10 places behind them at the end of the season. And our goal difference was something like -20, -17, something in between those. Which wasn't the worst. We were actually better than... I knew we were better than Paderborn. I knew we were better than Dusseldorf. I knew we were actually better than Mainz and Schalke, who finished above us that season. But it was a good way to get in, because I thought, well, there's nothing but up from here. And my personal highlight of the 19/20 season was John Cordoba's first goal against Hoffenheim. Just, it's a beauty. Just, you saw that right there. It was very long. And it was the first goal I've ever seen Cologne score in real life. How wrong I was. It was worse. We barely avoided relegation. We were in 16th place. It was close. If we would have won our last game, Arminia Bielefeld probably would have been in the position we were. But it was just a really bad thing. Not if we won our last game. If we wouldn't have drawn against, I'm pretty sure it was against Hoffenheim. If we wouldn't have drawn against Hoffenheim, we probably would have not been in a relegation playoff game, which luckily we won. But the biggest thing is that I was thinking we conceded 26 goals. I'm not sure why I'm moving this. We conceded 26 goals. Now, there was obviously worse. I'm pretty sure there was Schalke, who their goal difference was like -60, which is awful. Ours was only -26, but we weren't above that many people. Ours was the third worst in the league. But we stayed up, and that's all that mattered. And now, I was really thinking, there's nothing that can be as worse than that. And I wish I could say the entire match was the highlight, but this last-minute goal to win the game against Schalke on match day 17 was definitely my highlight. Tillman was just so amazing that season, and he's continued to be serviceable for the club. And how right I was. Cologne finished 7th in that season and went to the Conference League next season, even though that we lost our last game to, I'm pretty sure, I can't remember. I think it was to Dortmund. That might have been it. No, Dortmund played Mainz. No. Yeah, no, Dortmund played Mainz. I think it was to Leverkusen then, who got third place that year. But it wouldn't have changed anything, because actually, wait, no, it would have, because we would have been in Europa League if Freiburg still would have lost and we would have won. But it was fine. It was fine, because I got Europe. Finally, I get to watch my German club go to Europe, because with Celtic, there was no chance of them getting relegated. And there was really no chance of them not getting European football. It was just, I already knew that they were going to lose. And with West Ham, I knew probably wasn't going to happen, and I didn't really care as much about them as I did at the time. So now, I was really excited that I can watch one of my teams compete in a European Championship. Now, for this season, I knew what game I was going to pick. It was the 7-1 victory against Werder Bremen, because, well, just look at that. But I actually picked 3 goals from this game because I liked them all so much. This one with the backheel assist, which many thought was offside, but it was given anyways, which it may have been, but it's funny. And this excellent volley. Oh my god. It was just beautiful. How disappointed I was, because we were in a group where we should have gone through. We lost one stupid game against, I'm pretty sure it was Slovako. And if we would have just drawn, we would have gone up and Partizan would have gone down on goal difference, so we just got grouped. But it was fine for me because, well, that was the year West Ham won the Conference League. So now moving to the league, we finished in 11th. Now, it was fine. It wasn't bad. I would have really liked us to at least qualify for the Conference League again. Good it was. It just wasn't in cards. And that's pretty much all I had to say about that season. My highlight was in the game against Bochum, where Tillman sent in this excellent ball for an excellent finish by Hubers. And now that brings me to the season, last season, where they got relegated. Now, I was happy that Bayern Munich didn't win, but I couldn't really celebrate it because Köln had gone down. It was crushing, because Celtic had no fear of going down, and West Ham probably ain't ever happening in my lifetime. But it was sad, Meanwhile, Heidenheim, newly promoted team, gets up to the Conference League. Hoffenheim, who'd been up, but weren't that ultra good, made it to Conference League, and there were more Conference League spots and Europa League spots. I just felt, like that was one that we really should have been able to dig ourselves out of at Christmas. We had an uptick in form, didn't lose to Gladbach once. But we didn't have enough good games. I think it didn't even take us to the last match day. It was like 3 match days before Cologne confirmed relegated, and it was just bad. My highlight for the last Bundesliga season was Feldschmidt's epic long shot against Gladbach. But now we are in the Zweite Bundesliga, which is, it's been good. We are in the title race, and as long as we get second, which is looking more and more likely every day, that we could probably get back up easily. We have a 3-point lead over FC Elversberg, which has been the giant killer this season. And despite having many stupid losses, especially from Darmstadt, who, I'm just going to be frank here, kind of smacked us silly in the early season. It was looking bad, but we had a good comeback over Schalke. And our goal difference isn't that good. We're definitely scoring more goals than we're conceding, but our goal difference is only 9. And it's not very good. But we're winning games, and that's all that matters. So, yeah, and I'm excited to see Cologne go back up.